All right, we are live recording, good to go. So, hope you guys are having a great day. So, today I want to talk about calorie calculators and figuring out how many calories you burn per day, because this is like the $1,000,000 question. Because, if you've been listening to my content and, watching any of these videos, you probably know that knowing how many calories you burn per day is pretty important when it comes to fat loss, because in general, we do need to be in a calorie deficit over a long period of time to lose body fat. Obviously, there are bad ways to go about that and good ways to go about that. Bad ways being in a huge calorie deficit, being in a calorie deficit for a long period of time without taking breaks out of the calorie deficit, not building your calories up in a priming phase before going into a fat loss phase is probably not a good idea. So there are bad ways to go about it like that, and good ways to go about it where you're taking frequent breaks, maintenance phases, even maintenance days within your weeks, and so on and so on. But all of this comes back down to how many calories do I burn, right? Because if I don't know how many calories I burn or should be burning, I don't know how high to bring my calories to end my priming phase at. I don't know where my calories should be on maintenance days then if I don't know where my maintenance calories are, which how many calories you burn per day is equivalent to the term maintenance calories. And then I also don't know how high to bring my calories after I'm done with my fat loss phase and I'm going into a diet break or a maintenance phase. So finding how many calories you burn per day is super important, right? And I've gotten this question a lot, and I've had a lot of people ask me, what calorie calculators to use, which ones are good ones, what websites are good, and this and that. And I've also seen questions about are Fitbits and Apple Watches and all of that, are those accurate when it comes to estimating how many calories I burn per day? And for one, Fitbits, Apple Watches, a lot of times they're not that accurate, and you shouldn't be relying on those to find your numbers. And then when it comes to like equations, I do have an equation that I roughly use with clients, but it is a very rough number. The one that I use is called the Mifflin-St. Jeor equation. There are different equations, different weird names, like one's like a Harris-Benedict. I don't even know where they got their names from. I'm assuming the person or the guy or the woman who created these equations, that was part of their name. I don't know. Funky names that are hard to remember. But there are other ones like the Harris-Benedict, but I think that one requires your body fat percentage to be involved, which a lot of people don't know their body fat percentage. So it's hard to use that equation. So the Mifflin-St. Jeor one is a good one to use to get a rough idea. Now I really want to emphasize that. A rough idea. Because it's not perfect. And it's never going to be perfect. No matter how much you try to analyze your life, it's always going to be different because everybody's metabolism is different. And there are a lot of factors that come into play, I should say, when it comes to how many calories you burn and the fluctuations too. But I will start off by just saying this. No calorie calculator will accurately tell you how many calories you burn per day, like tracking your food for 3 to 4 weeks consistently, accurately, and monitoring the changes in your body weight and body composition will. Like, there's no calorie calculator that will be as accurate as that. Because, like, when they look at, like, even in research and these metabolic ward studies where they basically put somebody in a room, have them eat a certain amount, there are variations in how much weight somebody gains or loses based on how many calories they give them. Even those variations a lot of times are different than what you would expect. Like, you could feed somebody 500 calories over their maintenance, and on average, most people will probably, gain a pound of fat on average per week if that were the case. But there are variations, and some people will actually gain less, and some people will gain more than that. And why is that? And that is because there are like this system as far as how many calories we burn versus how much we eat. Like, a lot of people think it's okay, here's how much we eat, this is what we burn, boom, here's the equation, and how much we're going to gain or lose. But they all impact each other. So when you're eating 2,000 calories, your body might burn 2,000 calories. But when you eat let's say 1,800 calories, your body might adapt to that and only burn 1,800. When you eat 2,100, your body might adapt to that and burn 2,100, or it might not adapt to that and still just burn 2,000. But there's this open system where everything's kind of affected by the other thing. You eat a little bit more, you have a little bit more energy, you actually go on your walks like you're supposed to, you actually do your workouts like you're supposed to, you have more mental focus, so you're able to perform better in work and think better. You have more energy to go to the grocery store, more energy to play with your kids, so you end up burning more calories throughout the day. So you're like, I actually ate a little bit more food and I actually didn't gain any weight. So maybe this calorie calculator is not as accurate as what I think. But if you were actually eating a little bit less and didn't have as much energy throughout the day to push yourself in your workouts, get those walks in, play with your kids as much, you might burn exactly how much this calorie calculator told you would burn. And that change is simply due to how much you're actually eating. But it doesn't change like the fact that calories in versus calories out is the deciding factor of whether or not you gain fat or lose fat. But it does change how we look at things, because we can't look at things as simply, oh, if I eat more, I'm going to gain weight. If I eat less, I'm going to lose weight, because these systems all affect each other and all can impact, that output of that equation in various ways. But these calorie calculators all give us mostly just static numbers of, okay, you burn this much or you burn that much. But there are days where, like, if on average I burn 3,200 calories a day, let's say, there are days I probably only burn 2,900, and then there are days that I might burn 3,300 or 3,400 calories per day. Or for you, there might be days that you burn 1,800, but then other days where you burn 2,000, and that could even be impacted by other things, not even necessarily your food intake, but that could be impacted by your stress level. If you're really stressed, maybe you're less likely to go for a walk or go to the gym, so you burn less calories. Or maybe you're really stressed, so other systems of your metabolism kind of slow down or speed up to adjust for that stress you're feeling, and that can impact how many calories you burn. So we're all searching for this like special, perfect, exact number of how many calories we burn, and the simple way to see this and just see it like in real time in an instant. Put your information in a calculator, plug it in, boom, this is it. Or look at my Apple Watch really quickly. Oh, it shows this number. That's how much I burn. But there really isn't that simple of a way to find out that number. And the best route, the most accurate route to go to finding out how many calories you burn per day is to truly track how much food you're eating and make sure you're tracking accurately, not just eyeballing things, using a food scale to weigh and measure, 90% of your food. So okay, this is exactly how many nutrients, how many calories my body is taking in. Doing that for 3 to 4 weeks, at least 2 to 3 weeks. If you do it for 2 to 3 weeks straight, you'll probably get a pretty accurate picture of what kind of changes in your body composition are happening. But if you do that for 3 to 4 weeks for sure, and you track your body weight changes over that time period, assuming you're not a beginner in the gym and are just like gaining a bunch of muscle while losing fat at the same time, assuming you have some training or some working out under your belt, and you're not like a newbie to the gym, then you can probably pretty accurately see, okay, if I eat this much, I'm actually in a calorie surplus, so eating more calories than what I burn. If I eat this much, I'm probably actually at calorie maintenance. Or if I eat this much, I'm actually in like a calorie deficit of what I want if I do want to lose body fat. Now, like, it's not always perfect, because sometimes, you can be in a calorie surplus, but respond really well to your training and your workouts and actually gain some muscle and lose fat at the same time. And your body weight goes up, and you're like, oh, I must be gaining body fat, which isn't always the case. Now, you're in probably a calorie surplus, but when you're so new to training, you can actually put a little bit more weight, quote unquote, on, but some of that or more of that be actual muscle mass versus fat mass. So it feels like, oh, the scale is up, so I should bring my calories down. But really, depending on your goal, maybe you need to stay in a surplus and actually gain weight and actually gain some muscle to see like the body composition changes you want. But if you do that for 3 to 4 weeks, it will probably give you a very good picture of roughly what's calorie maintenance for you, at least in this moment in your life, what's a calorie deficit for you, at least in this moment of your life, and what's calorie maintenance for you at this moment of your life. And one thing I want to be very clear when it comes to this, when it comes to comparing your body weight over that period, you don't want to just weigh yourself once a week. You want to weigh yourself at least 4 times a week, preferably if you can every day, because we want to take an average of what your average weight is throughout the week. And if you just weigh yourself, let's say every Monday for 4 weeks, or let's say you weigh yourself even just like once in the beginning and once at the end, and you're like, okay, here's the difference in my weight. It's very easy for that difference in weight to just simply be because of differences in water retention. You could, in one given day, gain 3 or 4 pounds of water weight just from having more sodium, from hormone fluctuations, from stress, from even having a really hard workout can cause a little bit of inflammation, which causes water retention. So we don't want to just weigh ourselves one point in time and then another point in time, or even week to week isn't really enough data. We want to weigh ourselves frequently enough so we can find an average weight for the week. And that will at least help to kind of flush out some of those big fluctuations you see in water weight. Like you might on week 1 weigh yourself and you're like, let's say 150. On week 2, maybe you're 153. But when you compare your actual averages, maybe your averages really didn't change. And it was just that one random weigh in that ended up being 153. And by doing that, by seeing those averages, you can see, hey, this is a totally different picture than what's actually happening, or what I would have thought was happening if I only weighed myself once a week. So make sure you're taking averages of your weight and comparing those averages. And let's say if you compare your average on week 1 and it's 150, and then you compare your average on week 4 and let's say it's 153 on average, then there's a pretty good chance that you are in a calorie surplus, if that's the case. If over a 4-week span, your average weight goes up by, let's say, 3 pounds, it's probably a good chance. Not always. It's important to look at the trend. You know, if every week, weeks 1, 2, and 3, your average weight was all 150, and then all of a sudden week 4, it came up to 153, maybe that's more of so like you're on your cycle, or like this certain period of your cycle. You have some water retention and bloating because of that. So we have to look at trends too, and not just like the start and finish weight. But a good place to start is looking at that starting average on week 1, the average on week 4, seeing the difference, seeing your calorie intake, and comparing it to equations is, you know, a good idea of seeing, oh, like this equation says I should be burning maybe 2,000 calories a day. Let me eat 2,000 and just kind of see. Could be, you know, a good route to go about it, to compare those numbers to see if they're way off. Because if you log your food and you log 1,200 calories per day, but your average weight has gone up by 3 pounds or 4 pounds in a span of 4 weeks, and you should be burning 2,000, there's a good chance your food tracking just isn't accurate at that point, because the likelihood of you eating 800 calories less than what this equation tells you, but still on average gaining almost a pound of body fat on average per week, it's pretty unlikely. So if you see these huge discrepancies of how many calories you should be burning versus how many calories it seems like you're burning based on your average weight loss or gain, then it's probably a good idea to take a look at your food tracking accuracy. But if they're somewhere in the same ballpark, and also how you're feeling kind of correlates to what that scale is saying a little bit. So if you've gained, let's say, 3 pounds on average over a month, or let's say you've lost 3 pounds on average over a month, and in the scenario you gained, you actually do feel like maybe like you gain body fat. And if you take progress pictures, that's even better, because then you can visually observe these things. Or in the other scenario, if you actually lost 3 pounds on average and you compare those pictures, and you're like, hey, I actually look leaner and actually feel leaner, my clothes are fitting better, there's a good chance too that like your food tracking is accurate. This is kind of the accurate number of how many calories you either burn or don't burn. So 3 to 4 weeks is like kind of the good minimum to really start to dial in how many calories you burn. And this is why, like when I work with clients, especially long term, they they start to even see more success the longer we work together a lot of times, because I'm actually able to really learn their body. Like, they're tracking their food intake, they're measuring their body weight. I'm getting an average weight from them, every single week. I'm looking at their progress pictures every week. I'm analyzing how their body adjusts to this amount of calories or that amount of calories, or what their body does when they eat this much versus that much. And like, over a span of the first couple of weeks, I'm going off of, my years of experience of coaching people and getting really good guesses of how many calories they actually should be eating. So they typically do see like a lot of success in the first few weeks. But as time goes on, I'm not only using really good guesses and like these calculations and estimations and everything, but I'm using real world data of what their body has responded to. So as they go through the program, the longer they're in it, their goals and their targets, their calorie targets and everything just become even more specific to them, which allows them to see even more results too. But that comes from time of tracking these things, measuring what's changing, what's not changing, analyzing it, which is why, like, full transparency, it helps so much when you have a coach behind the scenes looking at all this stuff, so you yourself don't have to worry about like analyzing all these measurements and everything like that, and keeping track of them yourself and everything. But like, the longer you track your food and see how your body composition changes, the more you'll learn about your body and the more equipped you'll be to handle certain situations when you want to lose fat or when you want to eat at maintenance or this or that. Like, I've been tracking my food like pretty consistently since like 2013, 2014. Now, I obviously have periods of time where I don't track, whether it's a vacation or a holiday or a celebration or this or that. So it's not like I'm religiously, weighing every single thing that I eat for that long. But for the most part, consistently, tracking my food over that time period. And I can easily go into fat loss, easily go into maintenance, easily go into calorie surplus if I want to maybe potentially build some more muscle, like with the snap of the finger, whenever I want, because I've taken the time to measure these things and learn my body more. And you'll be surprised at what just 3 to 4 weeks of truly accurately tracking your food while also tracking body weight trends and body composition trends through the scale and progress pictures. You'll be truly surprised what at least even just 3 to 4 weeks of doing that will do for how much you'll learn about your body and what your body responds to. So, hopefully this was helpful and eye-opening and a good reminder to not rely like just on calorie calculators, not rely on just your Fitbit or Apple Watch to, track how many calories you burn, because those things can be off by, 100, 200, 300, sometimes even 400 calories at a time. And the best way to figure out how many calories you burn in any given circumstance is to actually track your food, eat certain amounts, see how your body composition changes in those environments, and then, learn how your body reacts in those situations there. So, hopefully this was helpful. If you want more personalized help with this, you can join my one-on-one coaching program by filling out the application in the comments, or you can join my group coaching membership where there's workout ideas in there, recipe, food ideas, challenges every single month, community support, weekly Q&As, all that if you want more of a group low-level style membership to kind of get your feet wet. So hopefully this was helpful, and I will see you guys in the next one.